Welcome back, friends. I have a little time, so let's play some chess. I'm gonna play e4. I guess opponent doesn't want to play. Okay, we'll try and get another one. I spent a little time earlier playing 10-minute no increment, and I got a little bit of a rating buffer here. Just did pretty well in faster time control, but it did feel very much like a blitz game without the increment, and wanted to get back to 15-10. This delayed c3. It's not what I wanted, but we don't get to pick our opponent's moves for them. So in the c3 directly, I like to play a d5 and go into these barman lines. But it's different in the delayed c3 with the knight already developed. Going into the barman lines now, this pawn is already here. This pawn's already in the way of the bishop. My bishop is blocked in. So it gets me a little bit out of my comfort zone. And let's just explore these knight f6 lines. We're just going to kind of wing it, see how it treats me. Ooh. Okay, this move is designed to defend the pawn. I know I've played this before in like tournament games back in the day, but it really cramps this D pawn at the moment. He's obviously going to want to drop it back and then push his central pawn. So my response, how do I take advantage of that? What if I push this pawn immediately? What if I push and offer up a chance to take, and then I get to take a central pawn? He doesn't have to take. He could retreat his bishop, which is his plan, but then if he pushes in the middle, I get to take en passant and still win a central pawn. So think I'm going to do that. Okay. Now he has the option to push here. If he ever pushes the d pawn, though, I get to take it. So he's probably going to want to try and flank attack over here to get rid of my c pawn first. Then I can reinforce it. So maybe he goes a4, immediately preventing me from going here. What if I go b5 immediately? Am I running any risks? I'm countering in the center. I go knight g4. The pawn's defended though. And then maybe I'm running into bishop here. Or he could attack the pawn. think development. I just get developed. Okay. He attacks the pawn with the queen. I could play b5 now, where a4 is met with maybe bishop a6. Bishop feels a little out of place there. Other options might be knight a5 immediately. My knight certainly feels out of place over there, defending this. So is there a tactical defense? I don't really see one. So b5, a5, a4, and bishop a6. Does get pieces developed. So that's what we're going to do. This push may have overextended me a little bit. I may end up down a pawn out of this, but if I'm going to be down a pawn, I'm going to be up in development. I think that was, I don't see the point of that move at all. Maybe he slipped a mouse. Maybe he intended to push it twice. I felt like a4 was the move. Um, Now I get a chance to defend everything. And I get to go bishop b7. Now a5, a4 doesn't work because I can just reinforce with a6 and my bishop defends my rook. Where previously, if the bishop was not developed, I could not defend because the rook was undefended and can't take back because the knight would have been hanging. Pawn of castles. I'm gonna try. Y'all know how much I love the fishing pole. I feel like queen c7 here, getting on this diagonal, could be good. But also help with this. Um, because at the moment, I think this is a threat where knight g4 isn't adequate because the pawn's defended twice and it just gets met with h3. So queen c7 it is. Now if he pushes the pawn, I do have this knight maneuver. And I think my whole intention here was to take en passant, so I win a central pawn. And we're basically in some open Sicilian structure. Okay. Reinforce my undefended pawn. No, I did kind of slide my way into typical Paulson setups, Paulson time on setups out of a C3, like a delayed C3. Um, I'm not sure my opponent played the most accurate moves though. This this A3 push just didn't seem uh it didn't seem worth it. I think I've got H5 here, just defending the knight. He can't take because I take. Attack the knight. He can go here and block. I posted a recent game where that was a thing, but the knight goes there to block, and then maybe bishop here. Um, my opponent has not used much time at all. Been basically playing on their 15 seconds. So let me take a moment and calculate this. Pawn to h5. Pawn takes. Knight h4, blocking the mate threat. Bishop here. And what? Bishop just comes back here to block. That hangs the knight. And I get the piece back. I'm gonna go for it. If I'm able to deflect the bishop off, then I win the piece back. And there's mating threats on h2, which I am a sucker for. I love a good mating net. With these pieces undeveloped over here, White's asking for trouble. This c3 pawn does stop the Siberian trap. If the c3 pawn weren't here, I could jump into d4, knight d4, and the knight can't take because of mate. Queen's under attack, so if the queen moves, I take the knight with check. Queen would be better placed somewhere else, and then after the queen takes back, then mate still follows. So I wonder if I can draw that c pawn forward or just doesn't look like it. I don't see anything. I think as of right now, bishop to c5 is my idea, whether or not he takes. If he takes, I'm going to spend a tempo to take back and attack the knight. This fishing pole attack is quite fun. I've used it a lot lately. I know I've mentioned it multiple times, but it's a very fun pattern. I encourage you to be on the lookout for. Um, it only works if you haven't castled, so you got to be comfortable with your king in the middle of the board. Um, Maybe ideas of castling queenside, but with a semi-open c file, um, most of the time I just leave my king in the middle. All right, he develops a knight. He doesn't want to go for the swaps, so I'll develop my bishop. Wonder if I could bait him with this. I mean, pawn takes. That might have been a move previously. Maybe I could bait him and take with the bishop, and if I could just get this pawn off of c3, then I've got the Siberian trap. Instead, he just gives me his queen. I am curious why my opponent is choosing to do that. That can be taken two different ways. So, do I give up the knight or do I give up the bishop? I think I start with the knight. I'm going to take the knight. Knight takes queen, and I'm going to maybe pawn storm. I'm just up a queen. Um, I really don't think that was his best option, and that hangs the bishop because the pawn's pinned. So good game, friend, but that about does it. Don't drop pieces. It's my best advice. And I can just take the pawn with check. Opponent's gonna fight on, but I'm gonna win another piece here. So now I'll just trade. I'm just gonna trade everything. Opponent is stubbornly playing on at this point, I think. Because there's not any real reason to. All right, good game. That was pretty quick. Um, Opponent blundered. His queen, I think, is the only big problem in that game. I played with 96% accuracy, like a 2400, and opponent played like a 2150 until until my opponent dropped his queen. I think it's got to be the only blunder. That was a high level game. Okay, this bishop move is a book move. I do recall playing it when I used to play the delayed c3, but I have since gone to the normal Alapin. This move was a little questionable, but opponent didn't take. Slight inaccuracy there, and I agree, like computer wants white to just fight in the center immediately. I thought if he was going to try over here, he needed to just push a5, a4. But we remain equal until white's blunder, I think. This is good. Takes. Best move was the knight push to g4. It thinks I should have kicked the bishop. And in previous setups where the knight was on c3, able to jump in to d5, it was right of me to block this bishop and prevent this idea of the knight jumping into uh, the d5 square. But that knight's useless back there on its home square. So I liked my move. And it calls this a brilliancy. Absolutely brilliant. Love brilliancies. I thought it looked like a really normal developing move. I mean, it pins the F pawn. Um, I've got ideas of sneaking down here with the queen. Really would have considered going for the Siberian trap though thing if okay, that's an obvious blunder, and I'm just winning from here. But if white goes knight here, what is my plan? It's knight b3 is best, and bishop b6. Just drop the bishop back. King h1, knight ce5. Bishop f4. And I mean, white has a bit of an edge here, but this is with best play. I really love the bishops here. These black bishops are amazingly placed. This knight is amazingly placed, ready to jump in. It's untouchable because this rook is going to attack the king. Everything is just swarming around the white king. So white may have an edge, but black's on the attack, and I think it's real easy for white to slip up. Um, Maybe I just bishop f4, d6, just fortify my knight. I love black's attack here. Well, opponent blundered, gave me his queen for free, and then valiantly played on, but in the end, just gave up all of his pieces. So, hope you enjoyed that. Come back and enjoy some more chess. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you all very much.